The raid had begun like all others, steel against steel, longboats splitting the fjord, war cries echoing across the cold northern cliffs. The Skorheim clan, fierce and flame-blooded, struck a neighboring coastal village before the sun had kissed the sea. But on this night, it wasn't screams that silenced them. It was the sky. A red comet tore across the heavens, blazing like a god's wrath, casting bloodlight across the sea. Even the berserkers paused, their blades slick and their eyes wide. "Ragnarok," someone whispered. "A star fallen," muttered the seeress. Then, crash! The skyfire struck inland, past the snow-capped ridges. The earth shook. Trees cracked like bones. Birds scattered. And the raid ended. Crossed swords the discovery in the crater. By morning, curiosity outgrew conquest. The Skorheim chieftain, Ulfr the Flame-Eyed, led a war band to the crater's site. They climbed through ash-dusted snow and shattered pines until they found it. A perfectly round pit, still smoldering. The ice around it had melted into steam. The rocks pulsed faintly red. And in the center, a man, or something like one. Naked, muscled, skin shining with faint golden light. A strange red cloth, burnt and torn, clung to his shoulders like a fallen banner. His hair was black as obsidian. His chest rose and fell in silence. No heartbeat, no wounds, no weapon, but his very presence hummed like thunder trapped in flesh. "He's dead," one warrior said. "He's dreaming," said another. "He's dangerous," said Ulfr, gripping his axe. As they argued, the seeress arrived, blind eyes wide open. Her fingers shook as she held aloft a stone etched in ancient runes. The runes burned the moment she stepped near him. She gasped, fell to her knees, and whispered, "He is the Skyborn, the one the Allfather dreamed of. The Star Child, the breaker of shadows." High-voltage tension rises, god or enemy. Ulfr wasn't convinced. "I see no god, just a sleeping warrior. What if he wakes and burns us all?" But even he couldn't deny what he felt, a pull, ancient and instinctual. This being had not come by accident. The stars had thrown him here, for something. They carried the stranger back through the frost-covered forest, bound to a sledge of pine wood wrapped in chain mail and furs. He did not move. He did not breathe. But still he radiated warmth. And as the wind howled through the trees, Odin's ravens circled high above, watching. Trials of ice and thunder. To fight like a Viking, he had to bleed like one. But the gods don't bleed unless they're challenged. They called him Sky Still, the man who fell from the heavens and refused to die. Days passed, then a full turning of the moon, and still he slept. His body never froze. His skin remained unpierced, even by sharpened steel. Some whispered he was cursed. Others said he was the son of Tyr, or a fire giant in human form. But when he finally awoke, he did not speak Old Norse, yet somehow they understood him. "Where am I?" he asked, voice deep as thunder. Ulfr stepped forward, axe slung across his back. "You are in the land of ice and iron. You breathe Viking air now." Crossed swords, a warrior's trial begins. Kal-El could not explain where he was, or why the sun felt wrong. He walked through the camp with unsteady steps. His strength, once unmeasurable, now came in short bursts. His leap was clumsy. His speed dulled. Something in the northern sky drained him. The seeress whispered to him by the fire one night, "This sun is black beneath its skin. No warmth for your kind. You burn from yellow fire, not our cold blue star." Still, he refused to become weak. Kal-El trained with the clan. He lifted stones twice his size, threw axes farther than any man, learned the runic names of each god and every enemy of Midgard. He ate with warriors, bled with berserkers, and when challenged, he fought with honor. But inside, he was still breaking. Each night, he gazed at the pale, flickering sun and willed it to shine yellow. It never did. Milky Way arrival of thunder. On the 7th night of his awakening, under the shimmering veil of aurora skies, the ground trembled. The fjord cracked with a boom like hammer on anvil. Lightning split the heavens, and from the heart of the storm descended a figure cloaked in silver-blue mist, wrapped in fury, holding a hammer that rang like the heartbeat of the 9 realms. Thor had arrived. High-voltage god versus starborn. The Skorheim warriors fell to one knee. Kal-El stood tall. Thor's voice was like a blade sharpened on storm winds. You are not of Asgard, nor Vanaheim, nor Midgard. What are you, flame-hearted stranger? Kal-El answered calmly. I am Kal-El of Krypton. I mean no war. Thor narrowed his eyes. Then why do you wear power not given by the gods? With no further words, Thor hurled Mjolnir. Kal-El caught it. The wind stopped. The fire crackled. And then, with a growl, Thor launched himself into battle. They fought beneath the aurora, gods among men. Axe met fist. Lightning met heat. Steel shattered. Trees exploded. Frost melted. For the first time, Kal-El felt fear, not of Thor, but of what he could become without limits or purpose. The aurora faded days after the battle. Neither Thor nor Kal-El had fallen, but the clash had shaken the mountains. When the storm cleared, only silence remained, save for the whisper of the seeress who waited beside the ashes of the great fire. She called for Kal-El at dawn. Her blind eyes burned white as she spoke in the ancient tongue, her voice carried by the wind like a hymn. The sky-born flame shall meet the sea-born frost. Only one born of fire, yet forged in ice, shall end the Serpent King. The warriors murmured. The name itself, Jörmungandr, the Serpent King, had not been spoken in an age. The beast that had devoured gods during the first Ragnarok was said to sleep beneath the frozen sea, dreaming of vengeance. Kal-El's jaw clenched. And this serpent, it will rise again. The seeress nodded slowly. It stirs even now. The frost beneath our feet is its heartbeat. Dragon the dragon's fire. The following night, the clan's hunters returned with news. Something vast and dying had fallen near the mountains of Svartheim. When Kal-El arrived, he found a dragon, massive, silver-scaled, its wings torn and lungs filled with smoke. Its eyes flickered open, molten and fading. You are not of Midgard, the dragon rasped. Kal-El knelt beside it. Then what am I? The dragon coughed flame. A weapon forged beyond stars, yet untested in frost. The serpent rises. Fire must remember itself. With its final breath, the dragon unleashed a stream of golden fire that struck Kal-El square across the chest. The blaze did not burn, it branded. When the light faded, a rune of fire glowed over his heart, ancient, circular, alive. The seeress later named it Eldr-Kal, the heart of flame. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, awakening strength even the black sun could not drain. Hammerampic forged in frost. With the dragon's scales and runes, the dwarven smiths of the north answered the seer's call. Deep beneath the ice caverns, they hammered a new armor. Viking steel lined with Kryptonian fragments. Each strike rang with old magic and new power. When Kal-El emerged, his armor gleamed like dawn fire caught in ice. Red cape flowing, silver runes carved across his chest, the mark of flame glowing through the steel. He was no longer sky still. He was Eldr-Kal, the Fireborn. Water waved the awakening. But far to the north, the sea broke open. The water steamed. Icebergs cracked. A roar thundered across the horizon. The Serpent King uncoiled from the abyss, scales blacker than night, eyes burning with cold hate. The prophecy had begun. The ground cracked open like split bone. Frost turned to steam. And from the edge of the known world, Jörmungandr rose again, serpent of ancient doom, coiled thrice around the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. His scales were dark as void, his breath like storms, and his eyes glowed with the scream of ages past. The sky dimmed. Even the gods watched in silence. Crossed swords, the call of the Skyforged. Upon the high ridge of Vestergaard, Kal-El stood alone, clad in armor of flame and frost, wind tearing his red cloak like a battle flag. Behind him, the Skorheim warriors gathered, shields raised, axes glinting. They no longer called him stranger. Now they roared his name. Skyforged, Skyforged, Eldr-Kal. From Thor's hand, Kal-El had earned a warhammer of URU steel. From the dwarves, a blade that shone with runes. But his greatest weapon was waking. The sky began to burn. Waxing crescent moon the solar eclipse. As Jörmungandr lunged toward the cliffs, the sun dimmed, not in darkness, but eclipse. And in that shadowed moment, Something broke inside Kal-El. Power surged. Not full, never full beneath this cursed sun, but enough. Enough to leap higher than the serpent's jaws. Enough to burn red lightning into the sky. Enough to remind the heavens why the House of El was feared across galaxies. Snake clash with the Serpent King. Kal-El soared toward the beast's head. He struck it with the URU hammer, sending a shockwave that flattened trees and shook snow from distant peaks. But the serpent was no mere monster. It was a god-killer, reborn through frost magic and hatred. Its tail crashed into the valley, snapping 3 longships. Dozens of Vikings were thrown into the sea. Kal-El turned midair. He saw the tribe. He saw the screaming children. He saw the open throat of the serpent. And in that moment, choice arrived like a blade. Balance scale 1 path, 2 costs. If he flew fast enough, he could end the serpent's brain, pierce it with the rune blade now glowing red-hot. But if he did, he would not reach the villagers in time. If he saved them, the serpent would dive again, perhaps forever. The seeress's words returned. He who bears fire and flesh must choose not between victory and death, but between hope and memory. Kal-El's hands trembled, and then he dropped the blade. He flew toward the village. Heat vision carved a path through falling ice. He caught the falling mast, lifted the shield wall, carried 20 souls over crumbling rock. He saved the tribe, and in the distance, Jörmungandr vanished beneath the ice once more. 3 nights passed since the Serpent King vanished beneath the ice, but the winds had changed. The sky remained gray. The aurora did not return. The seeress wept without words. The serpent is not gone, only hiding. The world tree Yggdrasil had begun to bleed, its bark cracked, roots quivering. The balance was broken. The gods did not answer prayers. The ravens had not flown. Even Thor had vanished. And so the Vikings turned once more to their Skyforged flame, Kal-El, dagger forging the final spear. In the heart of Nidavellir, where dwarves whispered in gold and molten runes swam like serpents in fire, Kal-El approached the forge of endless flame. There, the last weapon was born, a rune spear, carved from the dragon's bone, laced with URU steel, engraved with Kryptonian glyphs by Kal-El's own hand. It was the weapon of no god, only of one who had walked among men and chosen their fate. Snake the final duel. When Jörmungandr rose again, coiling through a split in the sea, Yggdrasil cracked above the northern sky. Its roots snapped with the sound of ancient drums, and the world tree leaned. Kal-El rose above the battlefield, his cape tattered, his breath short, the rune at his chest burning hot as a star's core. He spoke only once. This ends now. He flew like lightning shaped into a man, faster than frost, brighter than fire. The spear pierced the serpent's eye. A scream tore the clouds open. Jörmungandr collapsed, his body collapsing in on itself, dissolving into dust, rune magic, and winter's breath. But the cost came swiftly. The serpent's fall shattered the sky. The edge of Yggdrasil collapsed, and Kal-El fell with it. Rainbow the star vanishes in light. As the tree broke, a beam of shimmering rainbow fire split the air. The Bifrost, the bridge of the gods. Kal-El fell through it, not in death, but in purpose. There was no body, no grave, only light and silence. Musical note the song of the Skyforged. Later, by firelight, the Skorheim tribe carved his story into the stones of Midgard. The seeress sang, her voice cracked with cold but full of fire. He came not from our world, but when the serpent rose, he stood as one of us. He bore no hammer, no mead, no saga, but he gave his flame for ours. And so the gods fell silent, to hear the story of the star who chose to die Viking. Accenting line. They never saw him again, but every dawn after, the sun rose just a little warmer.